Hey everybody, this is Toby Eunice with a Gypsy's Kiss. Stick with me a couple of seconds and I'll introduce you to Forrest Fenn treasure hunter Paul Ammons. So I'd like to take a moment to remind you that if you'd like to participate in our It's All About You campaign of interviews, start the process by filling out the form at questionnaire.agypsieskiss.tv. Fill out that questionnaire. It'll arrive in the order in which it was sent, and we're working our way through the number of people that have made that request. So please join us. We'd love to interview you. So with me today is Paul Ammons. I know Paul is from Texas. We've actually communicated a great deal via email. I should mention, if it's okay, that Paul donated Forrest Fenn Searcher Medallions 2 and 3 to the Jamie Jordan raffle drawing campaign, and I thought that was very kind. He was one of the first to reach out to volunteer to donate something. So thank you for that, Paul. As you probably, and you and everyone knows, it was a very successful raffle drawing, and Jamie and Bill are well on their way to recovering. So let's start at the beginning. Who is Paul Ammons? And give us a little biographic sketch of yourself.
All right, Toby. First of all, thanks for having me. Don't like to talk about myself too much, but anyway, I am a single father to a 13-year-old, and biographically, I retired back at a young age, so I'm more of a freelance on a lot of stuff, and of course, I pick up things as I go, and then the thrill of the chase obviously dropped in my lap, so I'm doing that, and that's pretty much it. I just kind of take care of my kid and make do. I've been retired for 17 years.
Wow, that's great. You look very young to have been retired 17 years.
At 37 years old.
Oh, very good. What kind of work did you do that allowed you to retire at that early age?
Well, quite a bit. I was one of the type that didn't make it through high school hardly. I got kicked out of college. And I started up a small lawnmower shop, which turned into a rental business. And from there, I got into concrete, real estate, oil and gas, just a lot of things. And I finally United Rentals came in and made an offer I couldn't refuse, sold a bunch of it off. And then in 2000, I moved to Santa Fe.
Oh, how nice. I didn't realize you were living in Santa Fe. I thought you lived in Texas.
I do now.
Oh, okay. I see. So it was, that's.
Go ahead.
No, feel free. Go ahead.
No, yeah, I transitioned back to Texas after 17 years, and that was in 2016.
Well, the other thing about that decision to retire at 37, not only is it a financial decision, but it's also a decision about life. Not just that you had the opportunity because of the acquisition by United Rentals, but that, as I suggested, that's a pretty early age to retire. What did you say to yourself that caused you to decide to retire at 37? What was the big plan then?
Unfortunately, there wasn't one, and I recommend to anyone retiring that early to have a plan. I did not have one, and it took quite a while to readjust. Why I did it was because I was tired of running a daycare center. What was fun at first, building that company up from me and 2 other employees up to close to 80 employees when I sold. It just, and I was one of these owners that was always there before everybody had left. I had multiple locations, but I was just, workaholic is the bottom line to it. Mm-hmm. So anyway, I got out, but recommendation on that kind of stuff. If I had to do it over, I'd do it differently. But once that happens, I was lost for a while. So it just took a while so what I did is the reason I ended up in Santa Fe is because I wanted to get a summer home, and I ended up getting one up in the Pecos Canyon up by Cowles.
Mm-hmm. Uh-oh. Did I lose you there for just a second?
Compared to the Houston humidity down here, I ended up staying in Santa Fe while I worked on that place, and I ended up staying there for 17 years.
Well, I'll tell you what, I do a lot of fishing in the Cowles area, and up above, further up as well. And it's a beautiful place to have a home. You're very fortunate. So,
Yeah, when you started at the Callows Bridge, and if you're walking up the river, my cabin, first one on the right hand side.
oh,
Right
congratulations.
down from Los Pinos.
Beautiful area.
Yes.
So let's get on to the treasure hunt. So here you are, having retired at a very young age, raising a single father, raising I think you said daughter, is that right, or a 13-year-old
Son.
son, and suddenly you bump into something called a Forrest Fenn treasure hunt. Tell me about that. How did that happen, and how did you end up going from, hey, this looks interesting, to I'm a searcher?
There you go. Okay. I actually found out, I got my first look at it in 2015 around November. And I was already starting to transition to, back to Texas. So I saw it and I just like, well, whatever. And it kind of bumped around in my head. And I'm a very spiritual guy. And I also believe in synchronicity. And it's kind of like the hero's journey. I just kept getting this calling. I couldn't get away from this thing, and then I said, well, I'll just go ahead and get the book. And I got the book. I put it aside. And then I picked it up and read it a little bit. It got me more interested. When I got to the chapter about the bells, that's when I dove in. And I said, whoa, because Tommy Hicks came through my life at one point, okay? And I said, is this like a coincidence? This is crazy. And so anyways, it got my attention and all, but I had a lot to do after that. To speed up a little bit, I didn't put in the chase until this year in February. And prior to that, I really, and Toby, I don't like to advertise this, but I've said it on a few of the posts on the blogs and stuff, but I, to the point of the thrill of chase, had never read a book from cover to cover. Never. And I've read it 7 times now.
Well, it does make for easy reading, and it is enticing, not only from the perspective that it has the opportunity of finding the treasure, but it is a well-written memoir. I could understand how you could read it that many times. I'm sure there was a couple of times for determining whether there were additional hints in it, but it is a very easy read, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And on top of that, I also, when I was in New Mexico, I spent a lot of time, looking for things, and I found a lot of things. Mm-hmm. And I did that. I loved it. And so it was right up my alley. When I looked into it good, I said, yeah, this would be fun. And it is.
Well, New Mexico is full of treasures, new and old, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
When you were in Santa Fe, did you ever get the opportunity to meet Forrest, and what did you think of him?
Well, I don't know if I actually met him or not. I know I was in his shop quite a few times. Mm-hmm. Between 2000 and 2007, I was in 2006, I was in Santa Fe. Then I moved down to Corrales, New Mexico, where you know where that's at.
I do, yes.
And I bought a couple acres down there on the canales, and Santa Fe was a little bit closed in, a little tourism for me, and I just wanted some more land so I could, do the chicken thing and whatever. And and so I just hung out there.
We have a couple of very good friends that live in Corrales, and of course, that Shelley lives in Rio Rancho, which is not far west of that. I think it's
too far to walk.
How it goes. Yeah, you're right. So I do want to mention that we are pre-recording this video before it actually releases on Friday. But I wanted to mention to Paul that this Thursday's book club is on the chapter entitled Dancing with the Millennium, and we're looking forward to it because I think it's a very important chapter as well.
Absolutely.
So there you are, first interest, read the book, and you actually hold off for a while before you do anything with it. So let's talk about the search thus far. In which state do you believe Fenn, and again, as always, you can refuse to answer any of these questions, in which state do you believe Fenn hid the treasure, and why do you believe it's in that state?
I'm going to have to give you 2 states because one of my solves is on the border. So I'm going to say Montana and Wyoming.
Okay. And why that choice?
Well, right now it's just because I have one and maybe two good solves there, and I haven't completed them all the way through, and that's where I'm at.
Mm-hmm.
If that doesn't pan out, I'll be down in New Mexico again. I've done one in New Mexico.
So, how many recons have you been on, and in which states?
Okay, New Mexico was my first one, and I was on that one in let's say very early May or middle of May or so, and it was kind of a, for me it was more of a let's just feel this thing out,
Mm-hmm.
kind of thing. And then in June I was up in the West Yellowstone area, Montana area, for about 3 weeks, and then I just got back this last month for about a week.
I remember you mentioning that in an email that you that you and I exchanged. So when you've been out a couple of times now, once in New Mexico, once in the Montana, Wyoming area, and there was a lot of activity this year based on Fenn's comment about his gut feeling back in February. Mm-hmm. And I know a lot of people made a lot of plans, went out a lot, and for me, and I mentioned it in a video, it never felt right. It never felt like this was the year. So when do you think Fenn's treasure will eventually be found?
You want my gut feeling?
Gut, because that's all we have, right? That's all any of us.
I truly believe it's going to be found before the year 2021.
Mm-hmm. And what led you to that conclusion?
Just some numbers that I've been messing with.
Oh, okay. So it's all a numbers game for you.
And let me say another thing. And I really believe Forrest Fenn wants this thing found before he passes on. And he will give us what it's going to take to make that happen. And, I believe also that's why he did the bells. For him, the bells are like the Rosetta Stone. He knows that no one's going to find those anytime soon at all.
Mm-hmm.
Got all this stuff in it, blah blah blah.
Mm-hmm.
This treasure, he likes the sidelines. If I was in his shoes, I'd want to see this thing pan out. Mm-hmm. And I surely probably wouldn't want to pass on and leave it all with my family, even mm-hmm. though it's not directly connected. It just seems logical to me that he would, ride this thing through and time it to where it's in his favor that he gets to watch this. And he also knows he has all those bells out there in jars. And, 1,000 years from now, somebody's going to find those, or 100 or whatever. Those bells and jars are his. That's what he really did. This here is more of this is fun for him.
So he started out, and of course, mentioning, I don't know necessarily that it was in the book, that he imagined the possibility that this treasure hunt would last for a century, maybe even a millennium. What do you think has changed for him about when the treasure will be found? You mentioned perhaps not leaving it to his family, but what changed for him over the time that he wanted this to last 1,000 years, or hoped that it would last 1,000 years, and the desire to kind of get it over with?
Well, there's a couple of variables, but I think the main one has got a lot bigger than he thought it would. And it also caused him some. I wrote him one time and I said, Forrest, for a man that doesn't, what I say, for a man that wants to leave everybody, let's leave each other alone kind of deal. Mm-hmm. How would you go up in the mountains and hide this treasure and have to deal with all of this? You got people at your door. You've got all this going on. Of course, he never said anything back, but it just didn't make a lot of sense to me on that part. But to answer your question, it got a lot bigger than he thought. I think there's a lot more brain power than he might have thought of that would come in on this thing. And he also knows what's going on a lot better than we do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think he has control over it right now. He can decide if he wants this thing found or not. He could throw out probably one little key word and it's done. So it's his choice. He can either let it go on or he can stop it.
So what do you think the chances are that it's going to be you that finds this treasure?
I threw a dart at that one when I filled out the, this is the way I see it. And Toby, you said it best when you had the analogy of the lottery tickets.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that there's already a person's name on that chest.
Mm-hmm.
And you're not going to know unless you buy the ticket.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That person may not even be alive, not even born yet. I don't know. But, you know, I truly believe that. And if you don't play, you won't know. So I'm playing.
Well, of course, it was interesting to hear you mention synchronicity, because anybody who's been in Psychology 102 class probably knows what that word means, but it's significant. And once you realize how the word is defined, you realize that synchronicity is made, it's manufactured, right? But you have to be very aware that you're part of the manufacturing process. And I like the idea that the thing that you just mentioned, that there's somebody's name on that chest, right? Or somebody's winning lottery ticket number. It's already there. And all of us have the lottery tickets. And the idea that maybe the person that eventually wins that lottery may not even be born yet. My partner Shelley uses the secret concept, where you have to wish it for yourself. You have to want it enough, and eventually you can get to that point. But synchronicity is a lot like that.
It's called manifesting.
That's right, right. And she's a big believer in that. I tend to move over to your side with the synchronicity, and I think the person that does find the treasure will have wanted to find the treasure, and they have that lottery ticket. So tell me a little bit about which of the Fenn books you own, the memoirs, and what you find in each one of them if you own them all.
Well, obviously, when I bought the coin, I got all three of them.
Mm-hmm.
So I haven't read anything but the Thrill of the Chase.
Mm-hmm.
I flipped through real quick on the Too Far to Walk, and pretty much just looked at the pictures. You know, like the picture down in Pecos with his granddaughter. I know exactly where that is.
Mm-hmm.
Trace Lagunas.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
I've even fished that exact spot. I have friends that were down there. They stock it and everything. But anyway, back to your question, please.
The books. Go back to the books.
Back to the books.
And you said that you hadn't actually read two of them. Is that correct? You have three.
Correct.
But you've only read the one.
Correct.
And looked at the pictures.
I go with what Finn tells me to do. That's what I do. Mm-hmm. He told us to read the book, do the poem. You know, I do use the Facebook and some of the blogs as entertainment more than anything else. Mm-hmm. I throw some stuff out there just to see what the feedback's going to be and all. But I'm very careful about, you know, not locking into things. I'm very open-minded. You know, and I'm just trying to have fun with all this. That's what it's about. You know.
So let's talk about your research strategies just a little bit. How much time do you spend every week, on the average, in researching the treasure hunt?
Does that include laying in bed at night?
And just thinking about it? Yeah. No, because we're all susceptible to that, aren't we?
You're right. About 5 hours.
Oh, that's not bad. That's a pretty good number. That's a fair number. Gives you time to have an outside life, huh?
Yeah, but I also take breaks. When I came back from the second recon this summer, I put everything away for 3 weeks. Mm-hmm. And as soon as I kind of forgot about it, I picked it back up, and it's amazing what happens.
Well, tell us what happens. What?
I just saw things in a different light. Mm-hmm. You know, I read the poem, and I go, wait, how did I miss that? Mm-hmm. You know, it just because I believe the thing I have to be careful about is the ego of keeping one idea and only that one idea, because I'm right. But that's, you know, it's not the way it's going to be found, I don't believe.
So what about your present search season? How much more time are you going to invest in recons this year?
None.
And what are your plans for over the winter?
To be able to decode this poem. Mm-hmm. I'm all about the poem.
And a little bit longer term, what are your plans for the beginning of next season?
Well, I've told myself this. If I don't have a solid where Warm Waters Halt, Canyon Down, and possibly Homer Brown, which I believe once you get to the Homer Brown, you have to have boots on the ground. Mm-hmm. kind of rhymes. So once I hit the Homer Brown, I have to have boots on the ground to get the other clues. And if I don't have down to the Homer Brown, or at least Canyon down, I won't even go out. But I believe I'm going to have it because I'm pretty much close to that right now, but I just am fine-tuning.
So I usually end these conversations by asking what advice you would give to any searcher who is entering the search process, new to the search process. But I'm going to ask you a little bit different one first, and that is, what bit of wisdom would you care to share with the other 349,999 searchers that are looking for this treasure already?
Keep it fun. If it's not fun, I don't think that a person is really going to be thinking straight, because I think Forrest Fenn wrote it to where it's supposed to be fun. And it's supposed to be that way, and not take it so seriously. And if you start getting burned out, put it down for a while. You know, no one's going to get there first. Like I said, I think there's somebody's name's on it anyway, so it doesn't matter. That's how I look at it. If my name's on it, it doesn't matter anyway, so I can put it down. So I would also just look at the key videos of Forrest Fenn. And I'm not going to say to stay off the blogs, but be careful with all that. And read the book and look at the poem. Do what he tells you to do.
So it almost sounds to me like the advice or the bit of wisdom that you'd give to already experienced searchers applies to new searchers as well. What advice would you give to a brand spanking new searcher that today discovered generally they find the Moby Dickens video or they find the Nightline video, and suddenly they're enthusiastic about this without having any experience, having done any research? What would you say to them?
Well, I'd say to them the same thing: is get the thrill of the chase. I think that's all you need, and the poems in it. And then I would go and look at the cheat sheets and stuff. I see a lot of these new searchers ask those questions on the blogs and all, and they've already been answered. Right. So I wouldn't get too involved in all the threads and stuff, but look at the cheat sheets. Look at all the stuff that's been given. Terry Scant's awesome also. I use it quite a bit. And so, it's just I would just use your own thoughts and do your own thing.
Let me add to that for those of you that are entering into the search now, new searchers. If you go to our blog at agypsieskiss.com, there is a sticky post at the top of that blog, and it's advice for new searchers, and it gives you the 10 steps that you should go through to get you kind of caught up before you start entering into the forums or the comments or the chat rooms of the various YouTube channels, and it'll give you a head start on everything so that you're not asking the kind of questions that have been answered hundreds of times before in the last 8 years. So, Paul, thank you very much for joining me today. I really appreciate you taking the time. Oh,
hold on, I turned it off.
It might be an urgent call. No, okay, all right. Again, thanks for joining me today. Thanks for taking the time to do this interview. It was very informative, and I'm sure the folks that get to watch it will find it just as so.
Now, let me throw out one more thing.
Sure.
I'm going to throw out a hint, okay? Behind me, you're seeing a picture right there.
Yes.
Okay. That is done by DJ Challenger. And the painting is called Judgment. Okay?
Did you just give us a hint?
I did.
Tell me again.
We talked about synchronicity.
Right.
And I've had this thing, I bought it in Santa Fe, I don't know, 8-10 years ago. And I got looking at it. I mean, did you kind of think JD Challenger?
No.
Okay.
Now that you say it, of course.
But take a look. The painter comes out of Taos. And it's right up Finn's alley.
All right. Well, thank you.
He's never mentioned this artist, maybe for a reason. Right. I don't know. I play with all kinds of things, but when something stands out, like a blaze, I take a look at it because it might have something. And it's kind of like my bottle here in Houston sweating. And there's no waterfalls around.
Right.
Okay? All right. So anyways, just physics.
Laws of physics. That's right. The laws of physics.
That's right.
All right. Before we close up today, I want to remind those of you who are interested in participating in our It's All About You campaign. The first step in that process is to fill out the form at questionnaire.agypsieskiss.tv. It goes by very quickly. It takes you about 5 minutes to fill it out. And then that puts you into the queue, and eventually we'll get to you, I promise. And all you need is a little bit of technology and about 25 minutes in time to do the interview. Paul, again, thank you for joining me today. It's been a pleasure. We look forward to you coming back to New Mexico sometime and visiting. Let us know if you do, and we'll get together for a cup of coffee or something.
Thank you, Toby, and thanks for inviting me. I love your show.
Thank you very much. We appreciate audience members like you.
Okay.
All right, let's go to outro. Thanks for joining me today, and we'll see you all next week.